Right. So welcome back, students. So early morning, is it? Very early morning. Right. Okay. So let's start with liberty and equality today. Right. So now the basic aspects of political theory starts now. So we will be seeing liberty, equality, rights, and then justice. Okay. Ideally, the concept of liberty is not there in your syllabus. Okay. But since the questions have come previous years, next class I will show you what are questions have come in previous years. Okay. So since questions have come in the previous years, and also to explain the concept of equality, and affirmative action. Okay. And the questions of in our syllabus whether liberty and equality is contradictory or not, that point is there in the syllabus. So all these things are required. So first we will see some half an hour into what is a liberty. Okay, what is a liberty or freedom. Then we will go to what is equality, what are the different types of equality, and then finally we have to go to affirmative action. Okay, everything is integral part of our syllabus, right? So we will see liberty or freedom, then we will go to equality, then we will go to affirmative action. All these things are interrelated. Okay, extremely interrelated, right? For online students, the number is 730 5988 730-5988-226. So any interaction, immediately do that. Okay, right. Liberty. You could find in political theory the words liberty as well as the words freedom has been used many times. Is there any difference between these two words, liberty or freedom, or whether these two words are one and the same? Right. So in Tamil we would say both are one and the same, but in political science literature, whether do you have any difference between the word liberty and freedom? Many thinkers have used the word liberty and many thinkers have used the word freedom. Okay. Do you find any difference? Any one of you? Or you also take the point of view that both are one and the same? Or any difference is there? Right. Different scholars have different opinions. According to Asaya Berlin, why we refer Asaya Berlin here is Berlin, very famous name when it comes to liberty and freedom. Okay. Asaya Berlin is the person who classifies the concept of freedom is a kind of a condition that is prevalent. Okay. So freedom, for example, when you say whether India got freedom or not, it's a kind of a condition. Correct? It's a kind of a condition where the foreigners cannot dominate our resources or our political, all these rights. So only Indians can do it. In that scenario, we will say India has got independence or India got freedom. Correct? So freedom for certain thinkers is about a condition, what is prevalent in the society. For example, even Karl Marx would have differentiated how liberty essentially is a bourgeoisie capitalist or a liberal product, a product of capitalist. Okay. And freedom is a kind of a condition that exists in a society which could be achieved only in the communist society. Okay. Even Karl Marx would have taken that point of view. Right. So for certain thinkers, liberty and freedom are two different things. Okay, liberty or freedom. Are two different things for certain thinkers, but predominantly most of the thinkers think liberty or freedom are one and the same. Okay, are one and the same. So in your exam you can use liberty and freedom interchangeably. Okay, interchangeably, no problem there. But if you want to be extremely specific, so I don't want to confuse, then use the word liberty. If the question speaks about liberty, then continuously use the word liberty and right. Okay, nothing wrong in that also. Okay, sometimes the person who corrects, maybe the question would have asked about what is the negative concept of liberty or the positive concept of liberty. You could have used the word freedom and liberty interchangeably. And the person who corrects, as I already told you, the key will not be given most of the times. Key will not be given for optionals. Only the expert will come and correct for optionals basically. So the expert comes and corrects probably if he has a different point of view. So maintain liberty. If the question is on liberty, maintain continuously liberty. Nothing wrong on it. But technically, according to 80% of the thinkers or 90% of the thinkers, liberty or freedom could be used interchangeably. Right? Okay. Now, after clarifying this, let's go to what is this concept called as liberty or freedom. So, I will be using liberty or freedom interchangeably. Okay. So, what is this concept called as liberty or freedom? What is it exactly? If you ask a child, what the child would say? What is freedom? If you say during the school hours, or my parent does not allow me, then I do not have freedom. If my parent allow me to whatever do and whatever I want, like if I go outside, I have freedom. So everyone have their own notion of freedom. Correct? If you ask a housewife what is freedom, she will have her own notion of freedom. If you ask a working woman, she will say her own notion of freedom. So freedom is basically an individual thing. But how to exactly categorize? How to exactly categorize? First of all, before categorizing it, let's see what different thinkers have told about freedom. One famous thinker about freedom, which already we have discussed, is Mahatma Gandhi, isn't it? What is freedom according to Mahatma Gandhi? Any one of you? Already we have discussed this in this class. So I thought it is pertinent, better we start with Mahatma, the concept of freedom. What according to Mahatma was the concept of freedom? How he defined? What was freedom? Someone. Already we discussed extensively on this concept. Okay, every one of you forgot, right? Mahatma used the word Swaraj, isn't it? Swaraj. Use the word Swaraj. He used the word in two connotations. What were the two connotations? One was self-rule. Another one was rule over your own self. Rule over your own self. Okay. So, many thinkers thought that freedom is a kind of an internal thing, including our Mahatma. Freedom is a kind of an internal thing. Okay. Sometimes we allow the external conditions to control us. We don't rule ourselves, basically. Okay. We don't rule ourselves. Okay. Just like an animal being, we live. We allow the external conditions or circumstances to shape us. But that should not be how a human being should behave. Understood? So Mahatma says that is not how a human should be. Human being, first of all, should rule over his own self. Okay. He should not allow that external conditions to control him. He should be his own master. Okay. If I want to do this thing, irrespective of whatever happens, I have to do. Okay. If something outside happens, okay, because of the external condition, you become extremely sad, and for the next two days or 3 days, you stop preparing for civil services. Okay. Then you are not a free human being. Because of the external conditions, you have allowed your mind to succumb to the pressure that is outside. Okay. Or the sorrow that is outside. But you have forgotten your aim. Your aim is to prepare for civil service examination, and the next week exam is coming or something like that. So you have to prepare. So you should not allow the external circumstances to control you. Who is the free man? In Gandhi's philosophy, who is the free man? Whatever happens outside, something unfortunate things have happened outside, and still next week I have an exam. You insulate yourself. Okay, you insulate yourself. You don't worry about it. You rule over yourself. You have your aim intact. Okay, I am going to write the exam next week, so I have to prepare. So I insulate myself with all the things that is outside. Yes, something unfortunate has happened, but I have decided that I am going to prepare without any kind of disturbance in my mind. Without any disturbance in my mind, I am going to prepare for civil service examination. That person is a free man. You understood? That person is a free man because he has ruled over his own self. Okay. So this is some kind of what Mahatma has said is some kind of a philosophy that is there in India from the ancient times. That is the reason I started with Mahatma. Okay. This is the notion of freedom that Indian philosophy always says. What is freedom? Who is a free man? Okay. Rabindranath Tagore also reiterates. The real awakening comes. Only a person who is really awakened from the inside is an actual free man, says Rabindranath Tagore. You understood? Write it down. Write it down. Only a person who is really awakened from the inside. Awakened from the inside. So you have to understand in what context these people are speaking. Both of these people lived during the British times, where a lot of discussions were happening. What is freedom? Okay. So both of the people accepted and said, concurred. They said, yes, British goes outside, there is important point of freedom. But that is not the only way of freedom. Rabindranath Tagore also says, if British goes out of India and Indians get the political power, you could say Indian people have become powerful. That's it. You cannot say Indian people have become free, says Rabindranath Tagore. Okay. When you would see Indian people have become free? Rabindranath Tagore continues, only if you have awakened, the individual should have awakened. You should go to the level of the cosmopolitanism. The individual should go to the level of cosmopolitanism. What is this? Free from all kind of like caste identity, even the national identity. I am an Indian, you forget it. Be like a human being. That kind of awakening you have to get in your mind, says Rabindranath Tagore. Only if you get that kind of awakening. Okay, now we know all of us are marred by our own preferences. I am a caste, this caste, I am Tamilian, I am a Hindu, or so called I am a Indian. Okay, Rabindranath Tagore, you are a human being. You don't have any boundaries. That kind of an awakening you should get. Okay. Only if that inner awakening comes, then you are actually a free person, says Tagore. Free person. Okay. Till that does not come, if British goes out of India, you might become powerful. That's it. In British times, British were powerful in India. Now Indians have become powerful in India, but don't say Indians are free. The similar thing was echoed by Gandhi also. Okay. It is ruling over self, not just self-rule. Swaraj, the freedom, is not just self-rule. That is, British goes out of India, become free. No. It is where individuals start to rule over themselves. You understood? So this is something that is there very old in Indian philosophy. That is all Indian philosophers thought about freedom. Most of the Indian philosophers, right? Freedom. Okay, you got it. So there is also in Western philosophy, as usual. Okay, when you go to Western philosophy, immediately we go to the European context. Okay, of the same 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th century. This is where all these concepts develop. So how in Western philosophy these concepts have panned out? Let's see that now. So again, let's go to the European history of the 14th, 15th and 16th century. As you know, every these concept, whatever the concept that you are speaking in political theory, is a product of history, of a specific historical period. What is the historical period? That period which I told you, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th century Europe. Okay, and only after that the Enlightenment happens, where all these thinkers come. Great thinkers of freedom like Voltaire, J.S. Mill, all these people are either product of Enlightenment or comes little bit after Enlightenment, where many writings on liberty has come. right? But everything starts a little bit before. Right? So, how it started? As you know, as Marx has many times said, okay, the circumstances created Europe in such a way that a new idea started to emerge. Okay, and the new idea started to get its own expression in lot of revolutions. The first revolution is Glorious Revolution of England that happened in 1688. Okay, English Civil War happens in 1640s and Glorious Revolution of England happens in 1688. Then comes the French Revolution that happens in 1789. Okay, so all these concepts gets its own expression in a different way. Okay, so what is the very first notion of freedom that comes in the Western tradition? We won't give very first notion, but one of the most influential version, I could say that, because even Plato has spoken about freedom, even Aristotle has spoken about freedom. It's not that it is very first notion, but very influential version of freedom comes in the 15th and 16th century. What is it? Anyone of you could remember that? Right. It was called as absence of restraints. Absence of restraints. Okay. Locke, the founding father of liberalism, John Locke, the founding father of liberalism, declares, what he declares? What is liberty? He says, where there is law, there is liberty. According to John Locke, where there is law, there is liberty. Thomas Hobbes, the predecessor, goes to an extent and says, liberty is what law allows or wherever law is silent. Okay, liberty is what, according to Hobbes, liberty is what law allows or wherever law is silent. Okay. So they say liberty is something that you want to do, you do everything. Okay. That is how I already told you. Children would have, what if you ask a children what is liberty, they would have said, I don't want to go to school, but my father or mother is stopping me. Okay, they are asking me to go to school. If I do not have such a restriction, then I am free. So that is how everyone will think. What is liberty? There should not be any restriction. Do whatever you want. Okay. If there is any restriction, someone puts some restriction on you, immediately you will come and say, no, I am not free. Correct? If your father says, don't wear this dress, suddenly we say, don't come with the t-shirt to academy, then you will say, sir, what is this? You are taking away our freedom. In what meaning you are saying that? Right? You are putting some restrictions. So your common man's mindset, I am sorry. In common man's mindset, liberty is, if some restriction is there, then there is no freedom. Okay, that is how we understand. Okay, but is it really true? Political science philosophers like John Locke and Thomas Hobbes discusses that. They said, if you are allowed to do whatever that you want, that is not liberty, that is not freedom. That is only license. Okay, that is only license. That is only license. Okay. But there should be some restriction in such a way that your liberty does not affect that person's liberty. That's a very important point. Okay. So if I allow whatever you want to do anything you want, you might ask to kill another person, correct? So I do not like that person, so I have all freedom, so I am going to kill another person. So when you are trying to kill another person, eventually you are taking the freedom of that person to live. Right? So your freedom is affecting that person's freedom. Then how can be a freedom? That cannot be freedom then. What they said is a license. Okay, that is not freedom. Then what is freedom? Reasonable restrictions has to be put. And both of them called that reasonable restrictions as law. Okay, law is nothing but reasonable restriction. Okay, reasonable restrictions. So both of them called that reasonable restrictions law. So reasonable restrictions has to be put to everyone's freedom individually. Okay, so that you enjoy liberty on par with that person's liberty. So your freedom does not take away his or her freedom. You understood? That's a very, very important part of liberty. That is the reason. Now go back to the previous slide. Now you will understand what they have said. Where there is law, there is liberty. Where there is law, there is liberty. If there is no restrictions, then there is not liberty. Because you might think that I have liberty. Right? So in a classroom, all of you are speaking. Okay, all of you are speaking when I am taking class. You might think I am free to do. But eventually you are taking my freedom to take class. Right? So if you start speaking to yourself and you are not listening to what I am taking, so you are hampering my freedom here. So there should be a common notion, there should be a law in place, rules of the academy that should be kept in place. Okay. During the classroom, no one should speak when the teacher is speaking. Only then you can also enjoy your own freedom. What is your freedom? What the reason you have come here? The reason you have come here is to learn something. Okay, for writing you civil service examination. So that part of your freedom would be served, and the reason I have come here to take class for you. And this part of my freedom will also be served if there is some reasonable rules is there. Okay. If there are no reasonable rules, I allow all of you to speak, everyone speak whatever. So that part of your freedom, why you have come, that would not have been served, and why I have come, that also would not have been served. Probably there will be some people here who would really want to listen, and other people speak and they disturb them. You understood? So John Locke said, only where there is law, there is real freedom existed. There is no law, might becomes right. The person who is powerful can do anything they want. Then there cannot be a society where freedom exists. Okay, that is how Locke and Hobbes, even see what Hobbes has said. Liberty is what law allows, or wherever law is silent. Okay, wherever law is silent. Okay, if law doesn't speak about something, there you are free to do anything you want to. Correct? In that zone you are free because the law doesn't restrict you. Law doesn't restrict you. You want to do anything. For example, your college has a dress code. Okay, the college says don't wear jeans pant. Okay, but the college has not specifically told anything about cotton pants. Okay, so technically it is meant that since it only speaks about jeans pant, okay, in case of jeans you should not wear any toe jeans or something like that. You are free to wear, which is not that is mentioned there. Okay, so that is how wherever law is silent, you have some freedom, says Hobbes. Okay, you have to understand why exactly law is there. So all these thinkers at that point of time specifically said, if some kind of freedom has to be ensured, then law must definitely be there. Law, rules, regulations, a state, a government. Okay, that is essentially a liberal concept. This is how liberal setup believes. Okay, you understood? This is one notion of freedom that came during the 14th, 15th and 16th centuries. Okay. At the same time, there is also another notion of freedom that was also spoken by many thinkers at the same time. T.H. Green says, what is freedom? What is liberty? T.H. Green says, you can enjoy freedom Only when you enjoy that is common with others. Okay, enjoy those things which are common with others. Individually, we are enjoying something. For example, this classroom, take the same example of classroom. Okay, I've already told you, some people want to listen, some people want to speak to themselves. So the common thing is, why you have come? You have come to listen to the class. That is the common thing. Okay. So everyone should have some kind of consciousness. Why we have come? We have come to listen to the class. So we have come to an academy. So we have to enjoy the freedom in common with others. So I cannot be individually speaking and disturbing the others' freedom there. Okay. So this consciousness you should have inside your mind, not through any law. In the earlier example I told you, that is by law and restrictions, I have outlawed speaking in class. I have outlawed it. If someone speaks in class, that is offense. I can punish you. That is outlawed. But in this case of T.H. Green, he says, freedom exists only if we enjoy those things which is in common with others. Okay. So that consciousness should be there in your conscience itself. Okay. So once you come to a place, once you go to a say a marketplace or a supermarket, okay, Reliance Fresh, what is your role there? You are going as a customer. There you are not free to play with your children, roam around. That is not the place. Because everyone in common, why they have come there? They have come to buy goods in the supermarket, Reliance Fresh. Okay, so they are going to take, so that is in common, they are going to do it. So, just because you might argue, sir, the lady who is working there is my wife, so I am chit chatting, I am playing. See, that is not why you have come here. Okay, that conscience should be there in your mind itself, inner self itself, it should be there. Okay, only if a person thinks that and does it is freedom, he has freedom. Similar to the concept of what Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore believed. Okay. So freedom exists only when you do things or you enjoy things in common with others, said T.H. Green. Common with others. Okay. So that should be the inner self itself, according to T.H. Green. There are also other thinkers like Immanuel Kant. Goes to a greater extent and beautifully explains what is freedom. What is freedom? Immanuel Kant says, see, every person has a higher self and a lower self. Every person has a higher self and a lower self. The lower self is extremely individual and self-interested, selfish. Okay, I like this girl who's sitting with me. So only in the classroom I can speak with this girl. If I go out of this classroom, his father will come and he will pick her. So I don't have time to speak. So in classroom I will speak with that girl. What if the sir take class? That is some kind of a notion that every inner self will tell you, selfishness. Okay, selfishness. You go, you see you give 100 rupees note to the vendor, you go to a shop, a small petty shop, 100 rupees note to a vendor, and forgottenly that person has kept the 100 rupees note there and he went to take the thing. Okay, so you understand that no one is watching you. There will be a lower self inside you to say, okay, let me take the 100 rupees note back. He will not know that. At the same time, there will also be another higher self inside every human being, says Immanuel Kant. Every human being has two selves. That self will say, no, no, don't do it. This is not morality. This is not morality. Okay, that person will suffer, don't do it. Similarly, that other higher self would say, don't speak in class because everyone is listening. Okay, so Immanuel Kant says every person has two selves. One is higher self, another one lower self. Immanuel Kant explains, only freedom exists if your higher self controls your lower self. Okay, right. So higher self controls lower self. So, the freedom exists only if your higher self controls your lower self. Okay. This is the notion of Immanuel Kant. Similar notions would be put by Jean-Jacques Rousseau also. The general will and real will. Okay, actual will and real will. When your real will controls your actual will, in case of Jean-Jacques Rousseau. So all these people comes close to the Indian concept of freedom or liberty, where for them freedom is not something that is outside. Okay, it is not that it is outside, like how Thomas Hobbes has believed or John Locke has believed. Absence of restraints. You wait for someone to outlaw something. That is not freedom. Okay. It comes from inside, where your conscience should dictate. That should dictate. Okay. What is good, what is bad. T.H. Green says, do only those things in common with others. Okay. You can enjoy common with others. If certain things you yourself know, I cannot enjoy in common with others because I have come to class here. Okay. Individually, if I speak, everyone will be disturbed. If I listen silently, everyone will enjoy. So, in commonality, I can do this. Okay. That conscience you should have. If that person has, he is a free man. Okay. Or if your higher self controls your lower self, your selfish, self-natured character is being controlled by the character that has been dictated by morality, the common morality of the total society. If that character controls your self-interested character, then you are a free man. Understood? So that is how these people paint it. Now, so how to classify? So we have seen different notions of freedom. Okay. Now let's see how to classify it. Now comes the great thinker, the liberty, the tradition of liberty, Isaiah Berlin. So how Isaiah Berlin classifies liberty? This is a very recent article when I compare to all the other thinkers that I have discussed. It comes only somewhere around 1990s, 1970s the first notion comes, then the final notion I suppose it comes only around 1990s. Okay, there are different variants inside this very concept. So very, very recent article. Okay. So all other thinkers that we have discussed 300, 400 years ago. Right. So that is chronologically I have taken this a little bit later. Okay. So how Isaiah Berlin classifies freedom? According to Isaiah Berlin, freedom classified into negative freedom and positive freedom. Or you can put liberty, negative liberty and positive liberty. Understood? Negative liberty one side, positive liberty other side. So Isaiah Berlin, considering all these people's, considering all these people's opinion, comes with the opinion that there are different kinds of thinkers. Okay. Certain people have spoken about negative freedom and certain people have spoken about positive freedom. What is it? Okay, he says negative freedom could be defined as absence of restraints. Absence of restraints. Then what is positive freedom? He says that positive freedom is a kind of a freedom, like how T.H. Green has said, like how Immanuel Kant has said, or like how Mahatma Gandhi has said. Then you do those things for your own self-development. Okay. Then you exercise positive freedom. Okay. Doing things for self moral development. So what is it, sir? I don't understand. I'll come with a very simple example to make you understand how Asaya Berlin says. Let's take a simple notion of smoking cigarette. Smoking cigarette. So you want to smoke cigarette. Okay. Now, how you smoke cigarette? Now you see into the laws. You see into the laws and think, okay, I want to smoke cigarette, where should I smoke? What law says? In law, smoking in public places is wrong. So any of the public places, if you go, you smoke, it is wrong. So you cannot smoke in a bus stand or something like that. But you are free to smoke in an open space where it's not a public place. But you think that, okay, why should I go there? In house itself I can smoke. No one can ask me. So you smoke. So before smoking, what you thought about, where you looked in, you looked in the area where you can smoke. What law allows, what law does not allow. Correct? That is what you thought. You did not think anything else. Before smoking, see, if I smoke outside, the police will catch me. So that's a problem there. So it's a possibility that I smoke inside. So it's not outlawed. So inside house I can do it. So you thought only about the law, nothing else. Then you are exercising negative concept of freedom there, according to Asaya Berlin. Okay. You are exercising only a negative freedom there. But in spite of that, you are doing something else. You are thinking, okay, I am going to smoke now. I am going to smoke now. Why should I smoke? What is the reason? Whether it is going to help me or not. Okay. By smoking this cigarette, whether I am going to develop myself, it is going to help my moral development, self-development, my future, my ambition. I am going to do this thing. Okay. And you have that notion. At the same time, you also think whether by this, by my own ambition, whether others will be disturbed. Okay. All these things you think. And finally you come to a notion that, okay, this smoking is very, very important for me. Okay, that is going to help me. Okay. And after such a kind of a thought process, you smoke a cigarette. Okay. That you do for your own self-development basically. You don't think whether it's outlawed or not, but you think for your own self-development, where you think that I am doing this because of my higher self, not because of my lower self. Okay, my higher self says for your ambition, for your what you are wanting to do, so you have to smoke a cigarette. Okay, so you smoke. Then, according to Asaya Berlin, it's a positive freedom. There's a problem in it. We understand. There's a different problem in how Asaya Berlin has defined freedom, especially positive freedom. Okay, so there are many criticisms of how Asaya Berlin have defined positive freedom. There is no criticism about how he has defined negative freedom. Okay, but definitely there is criticism over how he has defined positive freedom, because of the very example I have taken. Okay. So if you decide whatever that is helping your self-development, so technically whether that will be positive freedom. So many detractors, commentators would say no. Let's take the same example. Then what is the real positive freedom? So if you want to smoke a cigarette, you think, I am going to smoke in home. There is also other people around. My child is there. My wife is there. My daughter is there. Okay, everyone is there. Oh, whether it will help them or not. Probably you would have promised your wife way back, I will never smoke. Okay, probably. That should also come in your mind. Then you enjoy in common with, okay, I have certain people in common here, so I cannot smoke. After making all these decisions in your mind, inner self, okay, then you do certain things. Ideally, if you start thinking that way, you will never smoke. You will never smoke, I will guarantee. Okay. Start thinking about your family, your father, your mother, your future, and other people around, that the smoke that you give out, exhale, if others inhale, that will be a problem for them. such kind of thought process started to come to your mind, you will never smoke. Okay, that is the real freedom. Okay, that is what a positive freedom is all about. So, negative freedom looks inside areas, looks only about loss. Positive freedom tries to see about the total society and what are your roles are there in the society, what you are up to, what is required for your self-development, what we can enjoy in common with others. Okay, all these things the positive freedom will look into. So, you have to decide what kind of freedom you are exercising. Okay, what kind of freedom, everything that, every act you do. Okay, your mother will be expecting, they would have funded you to prepare for civil service examination. Okay, every month they will be giving you 10,000 rupees, you would have taken a room here and you are wasting time. You are not reading. So, what kind of freedom you are exercising here? What kind of freedom? I would say it's not at all a freedom. Okay, you are using a license, well said. It's a license. You are not exercising a freedom. To enjoy your freedom, you should be consciously aware about your parents' intentions. Why they are spending so much? Because they want you to read. You also accepted it. If you can't read, you should have told them earlier itself, sir, mom, I cannot do it because I am not fit enough, so I will know. If you accepted it, then you have to read. Day and night you have to give efforts, 14 hours, 15 hours, you have to give effort. Okay. Thinking, keeping in mind, my parents have funded me, my mother is wishing that, my brother, everyone is expecting me to become an IAS officer. Correct. With that in mind, whatever activity that you do, you are doing a positive freedom. Correct. Whatever activity that you do. Otherwise, without thinking all these things, you are thinking only about law. Morning you get up, whether you can eat this food, it is unlawful, whether you can smoke, it is unlawful. All these things you think. And you live like an animal life. Okay, then it's like a negative freedom. Understood? Any doubt in this concept of negative and positive? With this, I am completing the concept of liberty. There is another notion of J.S. Mill's concept of liberty, which I will take in J.S. Mill's. Okay, I am not going to couple it here. Till last year, I took it along with this, but this year I thought let me take it separately. Okay, that is better, because anyway J.S. Mill is there in your syllabus. So when J.S. Mill comes, we will go there. Right, okay. Any doubt in this? Freedom, negative freedom, positive freedom. How different thinkers have said about freedom, Indian thinkers, the Western thinkers, and how finally Berlin comes and classifies freedom. Any doubt in this? Any doubt? So, again I am telling you, you can use liberty and freedom interchangeably. You can use liberty and freedom interchangeably, no doubt. But if you don't want to use also, no problem. The question speaks about liberty, then completely finish with the word liberty and end it. If the question is asked about freedom, then completely start with freedom and end it. Okay, that also you can do it. Okay, so I don't want to use, no problem. But even if you have used, no problem. Okay, so for 90% of the thinkers, liberty or freedom, one and the same. Any doubt in this? Immanuel Kant. See, it's a very simple notion. Everyone will have their own feeling to help others. Okay, you probably are feeling that I am a human being, I have to help others. It's a higher self, says Immanuel Kant. At the same time, everyone will have self-interested. I have to live, everything should be for my family. Okay, that is also will be there. For example, I give you an example. You are buying some 8 samosas. Okay, you have money to buy only 8 samosas, and you are living in a very, very big joint family. Okay, and you are coming to a house, there are 16 children in your joint family, but you have only 3 children. Okay, and you and wife 5 people, and you have a separate portion inside the big house. Okay, your lower self will say, okay, you have only 8 samosas. Okay, in my family, small family itself, 5 people are there. So don't show to all the children that is playing outside. Take this 5 samosas in a bag, go to your own room and then call your children separately, give them and tell them, don't tell her outside, eat and go. Your lower self will say that. But at the same time, your higher self will also say that. See, you are living a joint family. Who are they? My brother's children, my sister's children. Okay, only 8 samosas, no problem. There are 16 children, no problem. Let's share. Okay, your higher self will say the same thing. But what you will do now? Immanuel Kant says, you are a free person only if you understand that. Okay, I am living in a context where there are many children around, so I have to help everyone. It is not that my self-interested, my own children. So you go there, you control your lower self, and your higher self overpowers the lower self. You go there, you share the 8 samosas with all the 16 children there, also all the other people. Okay, and that kind of enjoyment you get is a real freedom. You are free man then, says Immanuel Kant. Okay, right. Any other doubt, guys? Okay. Now we will go to the Marxist notion of freedom. So, the liberal concept of freedom is over. Now we go to the Marxist concept of freedom. Karl Marx. Already we have discussed this extensively. So again, I am expecting an answer today. So I told you yesterday that tomorrow I will be discussing Marx again. So I asked you to read and come. So I hope now I get some answers. What is this Marxist notion of freedom? Anyone of you, online students? So none of you go and read in home. You read, right? Yesterday I finished by 7:40. So freedom to enjoy one's own fruit of labor. Good one. We'll come there. Good one. Right. Developing the moral values of the society, is it? Marx's notion of freedom. Okay. Right. Okay. You have seen Marx very philosophically. Not necessarily be that way, but it's okay. Right. Anyone else? How many hours you read for PSIR daily? Ideally, I think I already told you, daily 4 hours till February. Please do it. Till February, daily 4 hours. Okay. That is enough. The remaining 10 hours, see 14, 10, I already told you, 14 for civil services, 10 for personal things. Always put a chart. Always put a chart. Okay. Within the 10 hours, you have to do everything, sleeping, jogging, running, all the other eating, everything, relaxation, speaking with girlfriend, everything should end within the 10 hours. Remaining 14 hours for civil service. And in that 14 hours, 4 hours for PSIR, 10 hours for general studies. Okay, till February. And after February, forget PSIR. Okay, then you start preparing only your general studies. That is how it should go. Okay, once it goes this way, definitely if you clear prelims, definitely I think you would. Okay, if you clear prelims, you can, in the very first attempt, you can hit. Okay, don't do a mistake. Okay, I got 2 versions, fruits of labor and a philosophical version. Okay, any other version of Marx's notion of freedom? Self-development. Okay. So Marx was also a positive freedom theorist, no doubt in it, how you have said or what you have said. How does he exactly? What is liberty according to Karl Marx? I think I already told this quote. Liberty as a right of a man. Liberty as a right of a man. Marx writes, liberty as a right of a man is not founded upon is not founded upon relationship between man and man. Relationship between man and man. Rather, founded upon separation of man from man. Very, very important. For Karl Marx, freedom is a bourgeoisie right. It's a bourgeoisie right. You understand? Marx sees everything specific to the historical period. So always think this. I think I already told you this. Again telling you this. Anything that comes regarding to Marx, what is Marx theory of population? Even though you do not know what is Marx theory of population, how to write it. For Karl Marx, everything based on the specific historical period. The notion of population is different in the feudal society. It is different in the capitalist society. It is different in the socialist society. It is different in the communist society. It is different in the slave owning society. You understand? The meaning changes. The notion changes. Okay. So the notion of freedom changes in the capitalist society. It changes in the socialist society. It changes in the communist society. It was different in the feudal society. You understand? For Marx, everything is specific to the historical period that is concerned. That is not, no universal truth is possible. No universal truth is possible. Always remember this. Any idea is a historical idea, says Marx. Any idea is a historical idea which has its rules only in the historical period. Only in the historical period. You understood? So freedom is an idea. The meaning of freedom is different in a capitalist society, it is different in a socialist society, it is different in a communist society. It is not same everywhere. So what is freedom in a capitalist society, the society we are living in? Marx says, liberty as a right of a man is not founded upon a relationship of man and man. If you say freedom, you are not related to another man. Relationship between man and a girl says, I need space. Correct? I need space. Give me space. What is the space? When she says space, I want freedom, then the relationship ends there. You get separated. Marx says, it is not going to, whenever I expect freedom somewhere, father and mother, you go, you speak to your father, say, give me freedom. So you try to distance from your father. You are trying to distance your father, your mother. Dad, I need freedom. Mom, I need freedom. Correct. It is not going to relate. So Marx says, liberty as a right of man. Wherever you are trying to exert this liberty in a capitalist society, you are trying to separate from the other person. When you say, I need freedom, you are not going to mingle with him. Okay. So it is not founded upon relationship between man and man, rather it's founded upon separation of man from man. It separates one human being from the other human being in a capitalist society. You understood? So this meaning of liberty is only true in the capitalist society, not in the socialist society, not in the communist society, not in the feudal society. He is speaking only about the capitalist society. So in a capitalist society, this is what liberty is all about. It separates you from the other human being. You understood? So always be very clear. Marx is a kind of a different philosopher. Unique in a sense that he understands everything in the historical period. For Marx, nothing is a universal truth. Nothing is a universal truth. Okay. You cannot put some idea that is there in 1940s. Marx himself have said, what I am telling something in 1850s, it need not be true after 200 years. It will not be true. So the pathetic story is, few Marxists in the 21st century trying to apply what Marx has said in 1850s and trying to apply in 21st century society. and try to argue Marx is always right. See, Marx himself has said any idea is historical idea. It starts only in the historical period. It depicts the class relations in that historical period. Okay, the idea that has come out of the class relations. That is what Marx himself has said. So, in that scenario, there is no point in arguing Marx was always right even in the 21st century. Okay, understand? Right. So, that is how you have to understand Marxism. For Marxism, everything is specific to that historical period. So then, when this concept of freedom will relate or will not separate man from them? Any guesses? When this freedom, notion of freedom. So Marx has said freedom will separate man from man in capitalist society. Correct? That is what we have said. So when freedom will relate man and man? When? Think like a Marx, don't think like you. Think like a Marx. When?
Ruling class hold to the state. Ruling class only hold to the political.
Okay, I am asking you, when in a capitalist society, listen to the question very clearly. In a capitalist society, according to Karl Marx, freedom will separate man from man. Question is, when freedom will relate man and man? Very good. Simple answer. It's a communist society, that's it. For Marx, all human ills will be solved only in the communist society. See, all the human ills. Simple Marxism, understand simple way. In a capitalist society, everything is a problem because capitalism, as long as private property is there, no idea can solve your life. No idea. Idea of liberty, idea of equality is only a bourgeoisie right, only is a capitalist right. Why these ideas have come? These ideas have come to serve capitalist interest of the capitalist class, interest of the bourgeoisie. You understand? That is what Marx have thought. All these ideas that has come in the capitalist society. These ideas is not going to help you. The ideas of obedience or the ideas of the past, feudal society. Marx says, obedience became very famous in the feudal society, liberty became very famous in the capitalist society. Why? Obedience served the feudal class. Obedience, the idea of obedience served the feudal class, the idea of liberty is serving the capitalist class. So no idea is going to serve you unless and until communist society is born, says Marx. You understood? Simple understanding. That is the historical materialism of Karl Marx. One society gives transition to another society, then socialism comes, then communism comes. Okay. For Marx, everything become better only in the communist society. Say any question that comes, immediately you can write the very first line you can write. For Karl Marx, everything is specific only to the historical period. So freedom has a different notion, meaning in the capitalist society, and different emotion in the meaning in the communist society. They ask you the area of population of Karl Marx. Same thing. First line will always be the same. First line will always be the same. Because that is how Marx has seen the society. His concept of dialectics, it's also specific. That's why Marx was extremely different. For Buddha, change is the only thing which never changes. Marx also accepts it. Change is the only thing that never changes. But the nature of change, the degree of change varies in a capitalist society, in a socialist society, and a communist society, and also in a socialist society, or also in a feudal society. I'm sorry. So even the nature of change is dependent upon what? The type of society you are living in. Understand? That is how Marx has painted the total story. So simple to understand. So in capitalist society, this is Marx's notion of freedom. Okay, and the real freedom, where oppression of man by man will stop. Okay, only then the real freedom could be achieved, and that real freedom could be achieved in the only in the communist society. Okay, where, as you have already discussed, what we have already discussed, philosophically, the morality of human being, the consciousness of the human being, everything comes into being. Marx doesn't deny the morality. Okay, nothing, but everything comes into being only in a communist society. Okay, till that point, in a capitalist society, everything is going to serve only the capitalist class, even the concept of liberty. Understood? Any doubt in this? Ask me a doubt. If you do not understand, ask me, I will explain better with different examples also. Very good. Who is this person who answered this? Manasa. PSIR in a communist society. Very good. In a communist society, freedom would be united by man and man. Very good, ma. Very good answer. Right. Okay. So that is how we have to understand. Okay. Only in a communist society, as he has said, the freedom from real freedom would be achieved, where freedom relates man and man. Till then, freedom separates man from man. It separates. It's not going to unite man and man. Okay. Only in a communist society, the notion of freedom will unite man and man. Because why? Marx has said in a communist society, free development of each is a necessary condition for free development of all. How Marx has said? In a communist society, free development of each is the necessary condition to the free development of all. So individually, in the morning, if you want to fish, you should be fishing. Okay. And in the afternoon, you want to take class. Take class. In the evening, you want to enjoy your life with your friends and family. Enjoy it. Next morning, you want to drive a car. Okay. For your living, drive a car. Okay. So everyone has their own notion of enjoying things. You have to do. There should be a society. There should be some kind of a society where your own free thoughts should be respected. Free development of each. Okay. That is the necessary condition. So when everyone's free development has been ensured in a society, then the total society's free development in itself is ensured. But this will happen only in the communist society, not today. You understand? So that is what Marx says. Only in a communist society this formula comes into being. What is the formula? Very, very famous quote of Karl Marx. Free development of each becomes a necessary condition for the free development of all. It is not the other way around. Only if it is the other way around, Marx becomes a determinist. Marx is not a determinist. Okay. He wanted everyone's individual's free development to become a necessary condition for the free development of all. Okay. So individually you develop only in a communist society. Individually, a individual development is there only in the communist society, not in a socialist society or in a capitalist society or in a feudal society or in a slave owning society or any other society for that matter. Why? Because you become deterministic. You try to think about everyone else for your own development, free development of all. So you try to put your mind in others' empathy, empathetically think, okay, if I am going to do this, what he will, whether he will suffer or not. That is not freedom according to Marx. Okay. So that is not freedom. The freedom is you do whatever you want. That should be a notion where everyone does whatever they want. But that kind of consciousness will come automatically. That kind of society will evolve automatically. Only in a communist stage, where continuously you oppress the capital, and in your continuous struggle you bring in a social society, and that transforms in a communist society. No restraints whatsoever. That is the reason people say it's a utopian society, communist society. Why? Because Marx could not clearly explain the communist society very clearly. Marx did not try to. Okay, this for many people is extremely contradictory. Okay, it will not happen at all. Okay, how can it happen? You want to do whatever you want. Again, many would have said, even C.L. Vapor would have criticized. Then what is the difference between the might is right philosophy when it's there? Okay, that is the same thing. But Marx have said, in a communist society it will not be the case. Reason being, the people, because of the continuous oppression of capital, the people would have attained that level of consciousness. But that people are not ready to accept. The criticizers of Karl Marx are ready to accept. Even I won't accept it. Okay, because there is little bit of utopian. Okay, that cannot happen. So as we already discussed, Marx is the greatest pathologist of capitalist society. Whatever that he has said of capitalist society is absolutely right. But other than that, whether about the socialist society, about the communist society, or the prescriptions that Karl Marx gave might not be true and is not true. But we cannot undermine how Marx has deciphered the capitalist society, the concept of political economy, discussed last class. Okay, that is eventually true. The state becomes relatively autonomous only during elections. Otherwise, it is the businessman that controls. Like Marx has said, the businessman that control. The people with the money power control the total state for the 4 years, 4.5 years. And a state, whichever government is going to help only the rich person, only the capitalist class, only the high business person, till the election comes. During the election, state becomes autonomous, relatively autonomous, try to help the people of its association. Who are the people of the association of the state? We. So it tries to help us only during the election. And once the election is over, again state becomes a instrument of class oppression, becomes an association of capitalist and bourgeoisie. Correct? This analysis is excellent analysis given by Karl Marx of the capitalist society. So Marx is the greatest analyst of capitalist society, so be it. Otherwise, his notion of communism and all the other things might not be acceptable. So for Marx, these are criticisms. You can also write that depending upon the question. Critically analyze Marx's notion of freedom. Okay, you can write whatever you have said now. Okay, after saying what is Marx's notion of freedom in a capitalist society and what is Marx's notion of freedom in communist society, and then finally you can critically say how communist society is utopian thing, that such kind of freedom can never come. Okay, and also in the capitalist society, if you want to criticize, also you can criticize. Not always it is like that. You can say. Okay, this critical analysis I already told you. Okay, because of lack of time, I couldn't discuss critical analysis every small thing. Okay, but question paper it will be there. So this is where you have to make notes. Once you are reading it, take a separate note and write some kind of critical analysis based on current examples. If you want, you can take it and show it to me when I am here. Okay, I'll see it and tell you. Okay, some critical analysis. This individually you do. Okay, for PSIR. I'll tell you. Every critical analysis, if I start to take, then I need at least 400 hours. That's not possible. We don't have it. Okay. So, critical analysis you do, you write down what based on what I take in class, and if time permits, show it to me. I'll correct it and give it to you. I will explain back what is it, how to go about it. Okay. But everything you should have a critical point. Everything, even for Marx's notion of freedom, Asaya Berlin's concept of freedom. Okay, everything you have to write yourself some critical notion and keep it. Okay, right. Any other doubt in Marx's concept of freedom? Any other doubt, guys? Online students, do you have any doubt Marx's notion of freedom? Right. No. Okay. Now, after I believe that all of you would have understood now what is Marx's notion of freedom. Already we have taken what is the liberal notion of freedom. Now we will go to the concept of equality. I thought within 2 hours today I have to finish all those things, but how I don't know. Let's see. Okay, equality. Liberty and equality always goes hand in hand, because when I explained liberty, I told about equal liberty. Okay. Because liberty and equality always goes hand in hand. You cannot explain the notion of liberty without the notion of equality. And what is equality? What is the equality? See, as we have just now seen, everything is a historical product. Everything is a historical product. The notion of equality also is a historical product. Again, we are going back to the same European society of the 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th century. That is where all these notions developed. Okay, no change. So let's go back to the same society. Equality. It emerges in the similar context where the notion of freedom emerged. Okay. People started to conceive some kind of equalness, People started to conceive some kind of equalness, and they called it as a concept of equality, some kind of equalness. What they started to conceive depended upon people to people, differed. Okay. Initially, in a feudal society, people were oppressed based on their own birth. Right? Whether it is India, Europe, everywhere, ascriptive status, as they call. Ascriptive status determined all your life processes. What has been ascribed? It is not based on your individual talent, by birth. Okay, by birth, because you are born to a laborer, because you are born to a lower caste, because you are born to a freeman, or you are born to a noble in a European context, by birth. Okay, you are born to a son of a king, or born to a king or a queen. You understand? Because of your birth, you get lot of privileges. So, in a feudal society, privileges was the norm of the day. Privilege. Everything is privilege. If you are a church, belong to church, and this church, you get lot of privilege. That church, you get lot of privilege. Priest in India, you get lot of privilege. This class, this caste, lot of privilege. All societies across the world, it's been determined by privileges, nothing else. People cannot conceive some kind of equalness. Okay. That is how society was there all over the world till 14th and 15th centuries. Not just India. You read the history of social history of the whole world. Everywhere there was oppression. Everywhere. One name or other. India, it is called as caste system. Everywhere there was some kind of oppression. Understand? Right? That is how people were living also in Europe. No doubt in it. But in Europe, as we have already seen, the 14th and 15th century, slowly and steadily, because of the rise of Renaissance, Reformation, all the other things, people started to conceive some kind of equalness. Okay. They have been oppressed in the name of God most of the time. Divine right theory, European tradition, divine right theory. What this divine right theory says? The God cannot be everywhere. Since the God cannot be everywhere, He has created these kings. So the kings are the agents of God. So they must get lot of privileges and you have to obey them. Right. So in the name of God, privileges existed everywhere. The name of God. Okay. So the very first time, Europe people of Europe started to speak about, in the kingdom of God, all are equal. Okay, that notion started to come. The kingdom of God, all are equal. Many people started to cite Bible, or many people started to cite their own sources. Okay, the source of Plato, Aristotle, okay, and also from other religion, and they started to cite that in the kingdom of God, all are equal. Okay, especially starts with Bible because European tradition, basically a Christian tradition. Okay, the kingdom of God, all are equal. They started to assert it. Slowly and steadily, the writings also started to become a little bit secular. Okay. The concept of natural rights started to come. Okay. In the kingdom of nature, all are equal. The nature cannot give one person privilege and another person oppression. Okay. So, some kind of equalness started to be conceived. So, the first kind of equalness that was conceived was called as foundational equality. What is this foundational equality? What is this foundational equality? Foundational equality. It says every individual has an equal moral worth. Every individual has an equal moral worth. It is not that certain person is privileged, so his morally is greater. Like how a divine right theory has said. Like how a divine right theory has said, okay, I am a divine being. In Indian philosophy, they would say Jivatma and Paramatma. Certain people are Jivatma, certain people are Paramatma. Okay. So based on karma, certain people are reborn, and certain people are not based on karma, they are born because of the divine nature inside them. It's a belief. So in foundation, their moral was different, their moral was different because of inside. So every society had its own concept of giving privileges. Okay. So they said nothing like that. All are same. Morally, everyone has an equal worth. There is no divine birth. You cannot call this person as a divine birth, that was a normal birth. Everyone comes from mother because of father. That's it. Okay. It is not that you are divine and you come without mother. No. Scientifically, it has been proved that everyone can come only from mother. Okay. So technically, there can't be any divine birth as such. Okay. So all have equal worth in the foundation. In the foundation, all are equal. You cannot say certain people are upper class or upper caste or noble, divine birth, so on and so forth, and give them more privileges. That is impossible. Nothing like that exists. Argued the people of foundational equality. Understood? Slowly and steadily, the concept of foundational equality gave birth to another logical concept of equality that is called as formal equality. What is this formal equality? What is this formal equality? Very, very good. Form means always forms legality. Legally, before law, in the eyes of law, all are equal. Okay. All are equal before law. The concept of formal equality started to come. Slowly and steadily people started to conceive equality before law, equal protection of laws, rule of law, rule of law. Okay, all these things started to come. Okay, so different movements, slowly and steadily in the liberal tradition, you have a foundational equality, then you have a formal equality. So slowly and steadily, a liberal tradition is born based on two things. What is based on two things? One is negative liberty and formal equality. Okay. A typical classical liberal society is born based on negative liberty and formal equality. What is negative liberty? Absence of restraints. You understood? Absence of restraints. So your liberty, your freedom should not affect another person's liberty. So there is a law that is put in place. And what is that law? The law that is equal to everyone. The law does not give any privileges to anyone. You understood? Holistically understand. So a classical liberal tradition is born. A typical classical liberal tradition is born with one side formal equality and other side the concept of negative liberty. Okay. So the liberal people also started to speak a lot about liberty, freedom. So what kind of freedom they are speaking? What kind of equality they are speaking? So at the same time, see the historical context, understand the historical context. At the same time, there is also other movement, socialist movement, and they speak about economic equality. They speak about social equality. There should not be any private property. If there is a private property, one person becomes economically more wealthier, another person becomes poor. So there is no equality there. Spoke socialist movement. Okay, there are many movements across the world. They started speak about social status, the ascript to social status. Certain people are given more privileges, elites in the society. Okay, that should not be there. Social equality should be there. So the concept of economic equality, the concept of social equality, the concept of socio-economic equality also started to emerge alongside the liberal tradition of a classical liberal tradition of foundational equality, formal equality and negative liberty. You understood? You have to understand the context. So one side this is happening, another side you have formal equality, and you also have negative liberty. And you have economic equality, social equality, and you have a positive liberty. Understood? So here freedom was also emphasized by certain people, but they emphasize freedom only that is enjoyed in common with others. In other words, the state was asked to do a lot of roles, lot of developmental roles. State was asked to do a lot of developmental roles in case of the socialist movement. Okay. Simultaneously, there is also a liberal movement which speaks a lot about formal equality and a negative liberty. You understood? Right. So these movements happens in the 16th century. Go back to the 16th century Europe. Now, discussion comes. What is equality? The liberal people said, we also live for equality, liberty, equality and fraternity. Said the French Revolution. The socialist people say the equality that you are speaking is not at all equality. What is the use of a formal equality? Only equality before law. But anyway, the powerful person, the rich person is controlling it. Correct? Here everything takes place in the name of law, but still we have a lot of custodial debts. Lot of custodial debts, atrocities of the state atrocities. People are killed in the name of religion or caste or any philosophy, because state endorses that philosophy. State endorses certain philosophy. People across the world are killed. I am not just speaking about India, across the world are killed. This is my religion, so I kill, because as a state I endorse this religion. Across the world it happens. So the rule of law is where only in the name, the formal equality and the formal equality, the negative liberty, so called negative liberty, only in the laws book, rule book. Otherwise, the people have been oppressed, says these people. So what is the real kind of equality? For these people, the real kind of equality is the economic equality. The real kind of equality is the social equality. You understand? They don't want this formal or negative or formal equality or the foundational equality. While the liberal people asserted, we also speak only for equality. Then what kind of equality? Then comes the notion of equality of opportunity. This is liberal tradition. This is socialist tradition. Don't write in an exam as a Marxist tradition, that will be wrong. Write a socialist tradition, nothing wrong in it. Opportunities. Equality of opportunities. Understood? So liberal people now say, we actually speak about the true liberty. We speak about the true equality. The true liberty is the negative liberty, that is the possible liberty, that is the realizable liberty, and the true equality is the equality of opportunity. It is more realizable than what you speak. Right? It is more realizable than what you speak. Equality of opportunity. What is equality of opportunity? They say, give equal opportunity to everyone. That's it. That is the real equality that we can ensure. I cannot give one person this opportunity, that person another opportunity. If it is exam, it is common to everyone. All of you must get the equal opportunity to write the exam. Okay. Then, I am not going to bar based on caste, religion or sex or something like that, gender, nothing. I am not going to bar anyone based on anything. Equal opportunity given to everyone. So that is what I can do at the maximum. That is what the real equality is. Because for liberal people, you understand the society should be based on merit. We already discussed that. Why liberal people see a lot about equality of opportunity? Because the society should be based on merit, your talent. So a society should be that everyone should be allowed to exhibit their merit. That's it. You should not be barred. If you have some talent, you should be allowed to show that. And who is more talented wins. That is how a society should be, says the liberal people. Okay. Survival of the fittest. You remember Herbert Spencer's notion, survival of the fittest. So, the law of the land, the so-called negative liberty freedom, the law of the land should ensure the platform so that everyone participate equally. No privileges, no privileges. Who wins? Take everything, take it all. You are fit enough to survive. You have won the race. You take it all. That is the real equality that we can ensure, and that should be the real equality argued the liberal tradition. Understood? Nothing else can be equality. How can you create a economic equality? Technically, then merit is died there. Merit is dying there. Trying to create economic equality, one person is meritorious, he is hard working person. Okay, and definitely he should be given more worth because he is working hard. Another person is a lazy person, not at all working. You want to create economic equality. How you will create economic equality there? And what is the incentive that you give for merit? All this liberal tradition. What is the incentive? That should be some incentive for merit, isn't it? He is working hard, he is talented enough, and he should be given meritorious should rule. But this kind of economic equality, social equality, trying to paint a society such a way that if you are lazy, still you get it. Okay, some person would have 100 acres of land, another person will be having only 1 acre of land, and you say you take away 100 acre, share it. Why should I? These people say, why should I? He is not working. If you give the 50 acres today, tomorrow he will find a way to lose all the 50 acres. Because he is not that meritorious. If he is meritorious, let him earn. Let him earn the 50 acres. No redistribution. No redistribution. Why should I redistribute? That is against the liberal society, how the liberal thinking. Meritorious win. I am fit enough, I fight, you should create. What is the work of the law? The work of the law should create an equal opportunity to everyone to fight equally. That's it. If someone trying to overpower, for example, if some person is trying to give money and trying to get your vote, then the law should enter and say outlaw giving money. That the law is doing outlaw giving money. But in spite of the fact that in every election money is being transferred. That's the biggest joke. Correct? That is what Marx comes and says. At the end of the day, whatever is the law that you put, whatever law you put, the rich person finds a way, the capitalist finds a way to subvert it and to serve their own interest. That's a different story. Okay, but liberals would say, what is the maximum thing can I do? I can ensure that everything is taking place on par with the law, everything is taking place as such that everyone gets equal opportunity. That's it. I cannot redistribute to create a equal economic equality. I cannot change the total society, re-engineer the total society in such a way that social equality comes. That is not my work. Okay. meritorious win. That is the notion of liberal tradition, equality of opportunity, right? But the socialist tradition started to believe in another notion, what it is called as equality of outcome. What is the equality of outcome? A simple notion. You see the window there? Okay. Window there. We have two 3-year-old child. Okay. 3-year-old child. And both of them, one child is below the stool, below the particular window size. Okay. And another child is a little bit bigger, taller. So it is above the window size, right? So the first child cannot see the outside world. First child cannot see the outside world. This is the window. This is the first child. It cannot see the outside world because it is small. But the second child is a little bit bigger. So technically it can see the outside world very easily. The outcome is different to both these people. Outcome is different. But the concept of equality of outcome says, since the first child is very small, it needs a stool. Put a stool. Put a stool. So that you bring the child up, so that this child also sees the outside world. You understood? So the outcomes would be the same. You should not argue that, see, one person is getting a stool, another person is not. Don't argue that way. Don't argue that way. Because your equality is not about this. My equality is what is the outcome is. For ensure the equality of outcome, there could be some privileges that is given to the least advantage. Nothing wrong in it. Because they are least advantaged. You understand? Because they are least advantaged. Nothing wrong in it. Says the concept of equality of outcome. Understood? So now, whether this concept of equality or whether this concept of liberty goes hand in hand or it is contradictory to each other, that is the real question. There are many concepts of equality that we have seen. Many concepts of equality that we have seen. Okay. The concept of formal equality, foundation equality, economic equality, see, equality of wealth is there. Okay. Every society every thinker want to create some kind of equality. For them, this is what equality is all about. One person will say, okay, in wealth, everyone should be equal. But how to create it? One point of time you redistribute. Fine. Today I have redistributed everything. All wealth of India has been calculated. All people of India, total population of India also calculated. I redistribute. Equally redistribute. One point of time, 2011, 2022. I did it. Okay. Just for an example. It is impossible to do, but just for an example I am telling you. I did it. Okay. We did it. What happens 21/11/2022? What happens 22/11/2022? Today you have ensured the wealth is equal. Tomorrow, everyone are different. You are different, I am different, everyone are different. Correct? Everyone are different from each other. So equality as a notion is extremely controversial or confusing in political theory. What is equality? Today you can create one equality, tomorrow it will change based on individual character, individual how the process is going. It will change, definitely it will change. You cannot stop it. You understood? You cannot stop it. So what kind of equality? There is a bigger discussion in the political literature. Whether you are going to ensure the economic equality or you are going to ensure the social equality. Consider social equality. How social equality could be ensured? A lot of thinkers have come. Lot of thinkers like Ambedkar, Gandhi, many one have their own projection of society. Ambedkar has famously said, why we shouldn't believe Mahatma Gandhi. Because for Ambedkar, only if caste system is eradicated, only if the total caste system is eradicated, then the real social equality or the social democracy is a reality. He asked Gandhi. Gandhi is a person who wants to abolish untouchability but do not want to abolish caste system. How is it possible? So, for Ambedkar, what becomes the essential condition for removal of untouchability? Removal of caste system. That is the real social equality. Question is how to do it. That's the real question. 70 years have gone by. 75 years have gone by. You couldn't do it. Even it is 750 years. Okay. It is really tougher as long as Marx has said, at the highest stage of capital, this superstructure vanishes. If that happens, caste as a superstructure vanishes in itself because of the highest development of capital, and there is a contradiction of capital and labor. Because of this contradiction of capital and labor, in a long run, maybe in the 100 years down the line, where caste vanishes, the superstructure vanishes, how Marx has predicted. Only till then we cannot know whether caste system would be abolished or social equality could be established. You never know. Even in a socialist society, the social equality cannot be established. You understood? They said in a socialist system, because of this, and it will transfer to a communist society so that a real social equality will come. Nothing happened. I think I already told you why USSR fell down. See, after the Lenin revolution, everything went very well till 1924, where USSR was intact. After that, till 1953 Stalin was there, but till 1950 everything was going very well. But only in 1950 Stalin thought about, why can't I move from socialist society to communist society, transfer the pace. Okay. So what he did, he put a simple law that extra work will not be paid extra. Okay. So before that, if you work for 10 hours, you will be paid some extra. 8 hours is the normal rule. Okay, labor hours is 8 hours in USSR. You need not work more than 8 hours. But if someone works more than 8 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours, for every hour they will be paid extra. Okay. Just because he wanted to create a communist equal society, the so-called Karl Marx equal society in communism, he abolished this rule. Okay. So what happened? Slowly and steadily labor unrest started to happen in the very USSR which built upon labor class, working class movements. That's a pathetic story. You understood? So even a socialist society cannot realize the kind of social and economic equality which they promised. So that is where the liberal tradition becomes more authentic. Okay, because these are very good to realize, great ideals. What Marx has said, what Ambedkar has said is extremely good, but how to realize it? It's a very practical thing. See, I also received the same question when I went for the research. Okay. I always used to speak in a Marxist way, everyone knows that. And there was a person in a villager, I was speaking about how to abolish caste system. And I was not speaking about how to abolish, I was speaking about the fruits of abolition of caste system. He asked me a simple question, sir, all these things theoretically correct, tell me how to do it. Okay. Actually at that point I did not have an answer. Even today I can't have an answer. No one can have an answer. How to do it? You can read lectures of abolition of caste system, so this. I was giving a lecture. Why? Because there was a caste fight. So as a researcher I went there and he was speaking ill of another caste, and I went to the another group of area where the other caste people living, and they were speaking ill of this caste. So when I was speaking with these people, I was telling their point of view. I was acting as a mediator, action research, what you call it. Okay, I was acting as a mediator. I was telling them their point of view and to these people. And one person asked me, sir, everything is fine. You are telling about, sir, if the caste is not there, all these things, how to do it? Tell me. No one can say. That's the problem. So that's the problem with all these equalities, says the liberal tradition, which is easily realizable. This easily realizable. If you start to give stool to everyone, it will not work. Liberty and equality becomes contradictory to each other. Okay, so you are hampering this person's freedom, basically. You are giving him more freedom of enjoying a stool. That is very against the notion. And how much stool you give, and who determines the size of the stool, that is a different story. Who determines the size of the stool? Okay, today I am giving 3 inches stool to this guy. Tomorrow, fortunately, this guy is grown and this guy also grown. Okay, now he has become 1 inch extra and this guy has become 0.5 inch extra. Okay, now I have to review it or what? Again, new stool have to be built. I have to reduce the size of the stool or what? Because now his vision will be different, because he also has grown 0.5 extra. Correct? Can you visualize? This guy has also grown 0.5 extra. This guy also grown 1 inch extra. So today, what will be the size of my stool? Okay, assumingly, even today I re-engineer, give another stool. Tomorrow, unfortunately, again he has grown. Again he has grown. Suddenly he is eating a lot. Okay, he has grown 2 inches taller. Now his vision will be different. Now what should I do? How to create equality of outcome? What should I do? So now he sees much better thing because he is taller. Lot of things. So again you will create a stool or what? So endlessly you will be creating stools, nothing else in a society. Endlessly, as a society, you will be creating tools, that's it. You will be doing nothing. Argues liberal tradition. Okay. So equality of outcome is also unrealizable. It is also unrealizable. You understand? So that is how they argue. So a lot of the equality is a concept, a lot of arguments comes into being. Even for a question, that is how the question would come. Okay, you have to critically analyze. So all these points that we have discussed, always remember, make a note of it somewhere. Okay, always remember. That is how we have to write an argument. Okay. So even so where this liberal tradition is supporting us, what is easily realizable? Tell me that. Don't tell me about some kind of economic equality, wealth equality, equality of wealth, social equality, or equality of outcome, which is unrealizable. It is not possible to create stools every day because one person is grown, another person is not. Okay, that is not then you will be endlessly creating some stools to the least advantaged, underprivileged. Leave it free. Leave it free. Create a society more meritorious, says the liberal tradition. So one side you have equality of opportunity, another side you have equality of outcome. Right? But at the same time, people also assert the society should always have a system of affirmative action. So last session we saw that is how liberty and equality are contradictory. For example, as I just now told you, when you start a lot about equality of outcome, you have to compromise liberty. So equality of outcome, you have to compromise the liberty of this person and this person. One person gets the stool, other person does not get the stool. So one person's freedom is compromised for other person's freedom. Correct? So here liberty and equality are contradictory to each other. Contradictory to each other. Goes in opposite direction, contradictory to each other. One does not help other thing. In other words, if you ensure freedom, you will not ensure equality. If you ensure equality, you will not ensure freedom. Correct or not? If you ensure freedom, both gets equal freedom. Then the taller person sees a lot. Taller person sees a lot. The shorter person sees less. There is no equality there. Okay. But if you ensure equality, you give a stool, then you compromise the freedom there. Because one person has got a stool, more free. Another person does not have a stool, less free. More choice, less choice. Right? So you compromise of freedom there. So when you speak about equality of outcome, because many times the question has come, whether liberty and equality are contradictory or not. So how you to write, how to approach? You have to approach this way. How you see freedom, how you see equality determines whether liberty or equality are contradictory or complementary. That should be the first line. Okay, that's how we have to approach. So if you see equality as equality of outcome and liberty as a negative liberty, liberty that emanates from the law, okay, then it is contradictory to each other. You can ensure only one at a time. Either if you ensure equality, you cannot ensure liberty. If you ensure liberty, you cannot ensure equality. But if you see equality as equality of opportunity, equality as equality of, and liberty as liberty that emanates from law, negative liberty, then liberty and equality is complementary to each other. It's complementary. It is complementary to each other. Understood? Otherwise it is contradictory, otherwise it is complementary. When it is complementary, how you see equality? If you see equality as equality of opportunity, if you see liberty as negative liberty, liberty that emanates from law, then it is complementary to each other. Okay. If you see liberty as positive liberty and equality as equality outcome, again it is complementary to each other. You understood? That is how you have to argue. In the question paper. So whether liberty and equality are contradictory or complementary, it depends upon what kind of notion that you take. Okay. So everything culminates, as I said, in a notion of affirmative action. This every thinker and a society believes there should be some concept of affirmative action in every society. What is it? Affirmative action. Just now we have discussed. I have given a new name. That's it. What is this affirmative action? Any one of you? Exactly. Providing some kind of privileges or extra concern to the underprivileged and least advantaged people in a society. Okay. So they say, even though there are a lot of discussion now, because of already we have discussed, this concept, everything emanates in the positive or the modern liberal tradition of the welfare state. Okay. Slowly and steadily, because of the contradiction of socialist movement, communist movement and all the other movements of the 19th century, the liberal tradition also started to believe in affirmative actions. Okay. They started to accept that there are some group of people who are structurally disadvantaged. Structurally disadvantaged. So, a normal disadvantage and structural disadvantage is different. So, the most important terminology to answer affirmative action is structural disadvantage. What is the structural disadvantage? What is the structural disadvantage? Disadvantage is something that happens at one point of time. It is unstructured. Exactly. Over a period of time, okay, irrespective of what has happened, there is a system or structure of oppression in place. Structure of oppression always in place. Okay. For example, if you see a society, a feminist would argue, what is the structure of oppression? Society is based on patriarchal structure. Even if a woman is highly educated and she might be a boss of a full company, and in a structure of the patriarchal society in such a way that she goes home, the mother-in-law will expect her to do certain household chores. Because that is how society has been painted. Certain attributes have been given. You are women, you have to do these things. There is a certain kind of oppression that is there in these attributes. It has traveled for centuries together. Centuries together. You are expected to do this. Structural oppression. Structural disadvantage. Okay. You cannot say that I will not do it. If you say I will not do it, not all will accept. Okay. I already told you. If you sit cross-legged, okay, if a woman sit cross-legged, there's a different story. Okay, not all male will accept it. How in front of a male she is sitting cross-legged? And if she is sitting in front of father-in-law or mother-in-law, then it becomes a bigger problem. Okay, in most societies. So there is a kind of a structural oppression. This is what we call structural oppression. Oppression which is because of the custom, the culture that is there. The culture that is there. The custom, the norms, the rules, and across centuries this particular pattern has been transmitted. Okay, across centuries. Dalits, tribes, oppression. Okay, people of lower status, of a working class, a black, a negro. The derogatory term negro has been developed. Black, all those blacks. In a European society, Western society, they will always be seen as a second class citizens, isn't it? So there will be always a structural oppression which has been transmitted from the past based on the culture. You never know when it started. And everyone has inhabited this. We have this, okay, we have the insiders because we have been socialists in the very society. Okay, only very few would have been enlightened, would have come out of this socialized, the involuntary socializations that we have taken about the caste system. Because everyone would have been, when you have been socialized, you have been told your caste is great, your religion is great, we are superior. You see, even 2000 years ago, we Tamils did that, other people did not do that. All these things is there. This is how involuntarily we have been socialized. Okay. Involuntary socialization. You think that you are great, others are bad. Invariably, everyone has that mentality. I am great, my family is great, my kin is great, my kith, everyone is great, my society, my religion, my caste, we are great. That is why we have been socialized. Only very few come out of that myths and think that all are equal. It is not that my society did this. Every society had their own agriculture. Every society had their own system 2000 years ago. Not only Tamils did, everyone did. Okay. This kind of enlightenment comes only after a point of time. Otherwise, because of the involuntary socializations, you develop a kind of structure in your mind that I am superior, that person is inferior. And there will be a pattern of relationship because of the structure that you are involuntarily socialized. Okay, if a Dalit, he has to sit there, or if it's a woman, she has to do these things. You understand? Such involuntarily you develop something that becomes a structured pattern of oppression. Now, this is what these people say. So every society have their own structured disadvantage. So we are not speaking about any disadvantage that has been created next day. Okay, but we are speaking about those disadvantages which is structured. Helping a Dalit, you have to, because of the structure of the Indian society, they have been oppressed for centuries. They have been oppressed for centuries. So it becomes a duty to create some affirmative action for those people who have been structurally oppressed for centuries. Reservation for women in employment opportunities. They have been barred from certain employment opportunities for years together. Only certain employments of carrying and other things have been called as feminine employment. Even today, nurse means women nurse. Teacher means women teacher. Only that too up to kindergarten level. And if they go beyond that, they want to do a PhD and become a bigger professor and HOD, then it is not that advisable. Okay. And if she becomes a collector or something like that, immediately they will say, why you want to have a transfer job? So you also go for a transfer job, the male also goes for a transfer, then how you will run a family. So all these kinds of, some kind of pattern will be there in every society. Will always oppress women on one side. So these kind of structural oppressions, these kind of structural disadvantage must be given some advantages, some privileges. You understood? So affirmative action is a systemic doctrine that developed to cater to the needs of those disadvantaged people who have been structurally disadvantaged in every society across a period of time. So, one affirmative action, method of affirmative will not work in other society. For example, the kind of affirmative action that is there in American society cannot be imported directly in Indian society. Why? Because here the approach is different. Here the structure is different. Here the gender itself is different. Society is different. We have caste, we have the tribe, the notion of tribe, the Indian, everything is different. So here we need different notion of affirmative action, different plan of affirmative action. Understood? There the plan should be different. The plan of affirmative action different in the other society, the American society, the European society. You understand? So affirmative action is a kind of action that was specifically designed for those structurally disadvantaged people. So more privileges is given to those structurally disadvantaged people who have been oppressed for centuries together. Okay. What if it is not there? That is the question that you have to ask in your mind. If there is a debate that you have to, okay, whether why should I give a reservation or why should I give this extra privilege to one group of people, one section of people. The next immediate question that you have to ask in your mind is, what if it is not given to them? Whether in the meritorious society can they come and succeed? Because there are already a lot of structural oppression that is there. They have been barred. Certain people are being barred from doing certain employments or getting certain promotions. Every society, like every organization, most of the time, recently, I think all of you would have read that particular report that was highly published. Okay. Recently, a recent research report that was published which said that all English media, 89% of India's English media is being controlled by upper caste only. 89%. Not even OBCs. Forget SC. Not even OBCs are there. 89% of English media in India, total India. Research has been done for more than 1,000, more than 1,000, all print media, mass media, everything they have taken, including small organizations they have taken. And they say 89% of Indian media's top post, English media is being controlled by only upper caste, not even OBC. And OBC is for some 8-9% and SC is for 2%. That's the data. Recent data based on 2020. Okay, and the same research was done some 20 years back, and that was pathetic. Zero Dalit was there. So in 20 years, Dalits have come 2% and OBC have come some 9% in 20 years. Otherwise, the total Indian mass media, the complete mass media, English media, research is done only on English media. Okay, it's been controlled by very few upper caste domination. This is what we call as structural disadvantage. Okay. So the next question immediately you have to ask is, what if it is not there? If this reservations or something is not there, so technically these things will eternally continue. It will take another 100 years. Okay, for the OBCs to match, then another 100 years for the Dalits to match. Okay, for OBCs itself it will take another 100 years. Okay, I am thinking about India, not Tamil Nadu in particular. In Tamil Nadu, OBCs are highly developed. Okay, because of the very less number of forward caste and also because of the other movement that is there. Tamil Nadu OBC is much more developed than Dalits. Okay, the gap will be very high. Okay, in Tamil Nadu the FC would be very lesser because of the movement that is there in Tamil Nadu. But if you take India as a whole, Tamil Nadu English media is very less, except for Hindu. Even Hindu is be completely controlled by upper caste, that you know. All the top rows of Hindu are not OBCs; they are coming from the upper caste, right? So that is how it is. So what if it is not there? That is the question we have to answer. So if it is not there, the affirmative is not there, then it will take 100 years for these people who have been structurally disadvantaged people to come up. Okay, so that is the reason affirmative action should be there in every society, argue scholars. So it cannot be imported because every society has its own set of structural oppression. Every society has its own set of structural oppression. Understood? Right. So any doubt in this, guys? I think I have answered all of your questions regarding equality, liberty, the contradiction, and what is affirmative action, why you need affirmative action. Okay, what was not there. If any doubt, ask me. Because this particular part in your civil services will be most of discussion. Okay, most of discussion, where you have to critically analyze with common examples. Okay, real life examples. This is how this particular part. So you should know only certain definitions. What is affirmative action? What is equality? What is foundation equality? Certain definitions you keep in mind. Otherwise, your points of view has to be very clear. In what point of view you are arguing, that should be very clear. Okay, you shouldn't confuse in the 200 words that you are writing. Okay, so that is how you have to develop certain points of view. Okay, any doubts in this, ask me. Any doubts in developing any point of view? So why it is so? Why it should not be like this? Ask me. I will answer that. Why this happens? Why such kind of advantage is been given? Okay, simple logic. Always any affirmative action that you think, any government scheme that comes, immediately how to analyze it. As I already told you, ask this simple question: what if it is not there? Okay, then you try to answer, find answers for that. If government is giving this particular scheme for this particular group, whether it's a woman or a Dalit or a tribe, anyone, a religious minority for that matter, or a linguistic minority for that matter, a linguistic minority inside Tamil Nadu, a linguistic minority inside particular state, then immediately how to analyze that? If the question comes in that regard, how to analyze a particular scheme, then you have to put a question, counter question. What if it is not there to the particular group, particular linguistic minority, or particular religious minority, or particular Dalit or tribal group or women group, oh it is. What if it is not there? Then you will find certain answers. Okay. And if you see that there is structural disadvantage, that particular linguistic group, say, that happens everywhere. See, most of the, in Tamil Nadu in census, what they do? All the Telugu people, they put as bilingual status and they categorize them as Tamilians. And in census, only very less number of Telugu people that have been shown in Tamil Nadu census. But ideally, whoever Telugu people I speak, they counter this particular census data of Tamil Nadu. They say it is wrong. We have more than crores in Tamil Nadu, but ideally they are considering us as Tamils for certain reasons by the people who are taking census. So ideally, since the number of Telugus are shown very less in Tamil Nadu, okay, because of the ruling class, because of the Dravidian movement that is there, the other kind of Tamil nationalism, Dravidian movement that went along with it, number of other people, Telugus, Kannadikas are very shown very less, the mother tongue advantage they are not getting it. There is a kind of a structural oppression that is there. Not just in Tamil Nadu, every state. You go to Gujarat, there will be some kind of structural oppression. Okay. The mother tongue advantage they will not get. The schools based on mother tongue will not be there. Okay. So technically, they have over a period of time. See, my friend who is a Teluguite, his Telugu, Andhra people cannot understand because his Telugu is not at all Telugu. It is basically a Tamilized Telugu. I took with him. We went to Andhra. He spoke Telugu. And none of them will understand. I said, don't speak Telugu, I speak in English. It is better. Because they understand English better than your Telugu. Okay, because it's been highly Tamilized over the years. Okay, their mother tongue is forgotten. Probably after 50 years, they will not even know to read and even speak Telugu. They live like a Tamilians. That's it. This happens everywhere. I'm just taking an example of Tamil. This happens, a similar thing happens in Karnataka, Andhra, Gujarat. Everywhere, that is how the linguistic minorities have lot of disadvantages regarding the mother tongue, development of mother tongue. So, it is our responsibility to do some kind of affirmative action. Every state to preserve the mother tongue. Okay. And for certain tongues, we do not have a state. For example, Konkani, Tulu. What is their position? It is more pathetic. Okay. At least now the Karnataka government has realized something that for Tulu, Konkani, they are giving special status. But for Tamil, that is not there. That is another pathetic story. We go to Karnataka, All these Kongani, Tulu, they have something, but for Tamil that is not there, in spite of the fact that many Tamilians live in Karnataka. Structural oppression, because they say you do the same thing here. Tit for tat. So we do the same thing for Kannadigas here, they do the same thing for Tamilians here. So mother tongue advantage none of them get. But the Tulus and the Konkanis might get the mother tongue advantage, they are in Konkani. Because they want to preserve Kannadigas for everyone. Even the slogan does not include Tamils there. If you see the Karnataka slogan. So this kind of structural opposition is there in every society, not just in Tamil society. It is there in every society. Okay, so how to treat them? That is how we have to ask. So any question that comes, how to see that? Then immediately put your counter question. What if it is not there? Okay, then you will get some answers. Then based on that, build your argument and write the answer. Okay, right. Any other doubt, ask me. Anything if you have not answered. Because for this, again I am telling you, this is where you have to develop a lot of ideas in your mind basically. So this particular topic of liberty and equality, how it will be tested in a civil service examination, like a lot of ideas, lot of arguments you should have in your mind. Based on that, you will be given marks. Okay, any doubts, please? Any doubts? Online students. Online students, no doubt has come. Right. With this, we complete this session today. Next Saturday, once we come, again we will start a little bit with this. So you read it, you develop a little bit of argument, okay, and come with doubts next time. Okay. So we will have a meaningful discussion. Okay. Right, guys. Thank you. Thank you.